Hello, everyone. Welcome. You're watching Voices, and Voices is a dynamic program of the Atlantic Caribbean Union and its communication department. We're delighted to have in studio today two of our very special guests. We have Sister Denise Johnson and Pastor Leonardo Rahming. I'd like to say welcome to the both of you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Always a joy to have you. And today we get right into our program. And I begin this way. Sister Denise, if I can just begin with you. Can you tell us a little bit about who Sister Denise is?
Well, Denise is a wife, a mother, a grandmother of one precious little boy.
Okay, all right.
She is Women's Ministries Director and also Shepherdess Coordinator for the Union. In addition, I also serve as school counselor at Bahamas Academy.
Okay, thank you so much. And Pastor Rahming, the folk know you, but just introduce yourself, please.
Okay. Thank you, Pastor Clark. I am Leonardo Rahming. I serve as the ADRA Director along with the Sabbath School Directors for the Union. And my substantive post happens to be at the South Bahamas Conference with the Johnson Park and Gambia churches. I am married, and we have to lovely Pauline, and we have one wonderful daughter, Davincia Abriel.
It's really a joy to have you both. Sister Denise, I think we're going to talk a lot about women's ministries. Okay. Can I ask you to begin by just sharing with us what is women's ministries and who are some of your counterparts in the local fields?
Well, women's ministries is one of the departments of the church. I am so happy for the church in which we are all a part of. There are many departments that cater to each and every individual who is a church member. And with the Women's Ministries Department, it seeks to help to allow women to meet their full potential.
Yes.
When we look at it, we're not only looking at it in terms of the spiritual aspect, but we also have the physical, the mental, and the social aspect. So what does this say? The total woman. Okay. And when you have that, then when the ladies are fulfilled, the ladies are doing all that they possibly can in terms of serving God, this trickles down not only to the husbands, but it also to the children, to the church, the community. And so all of us are affected indirectly. Serving in Women's Ministries Department for the various fields we have here in the South Bahamas Conference, Sister Jacqueline Gibson. In North Bahamas Conference, we have Sister Eileen Sands. In the Cayman Islands Conference, we have Sister Sheila Woods. And in the Turks and Caicos Islands Mission, Sister Marjorie Bassett.
Okay, thank you for that. Pastor Rahming, you're working in ADRA, and ADRA operates a little differently, eh? Can you share with us about ADRA?
Well, ADRA happens to be a humanitarian organization. It was founded and it's based on Seventh-day Adventist principles, but it is a humanitarian organization that seeks to uplift humanity. We want to build humanity, and we're trying in every way possible to enrich the lives of those whom we serve, whether in the church or out of the church. You would notice that when you think about ADRA, which happens to be the Adventist Disaster and Relief Agency, we are seeking to try to help human beings on a whole to live a well-balanced, holistic life.
I know that whenever we hear about ADRA, we hear when disasters happen and all of that, they move to it and they really make us look good.
Yes, they do.
All right. And the work that they do and everything else like that. But let me come back to Sister Denise and Sister Johnson. You have this women's ministries emphasis that's going on right now, all right, or shortly. Can you just share a little bit about what it's all about? What can we expect? What's on the horizon for you?
Yeah, so when we look at in terms of what's happening within Women's Ministries Department at this particular time, we think of the initiative from the General Conference or the Worldwide Church as it relates to the prevention and awareness of this, of abuse. We look at, first of all, the awareness. Many people, when they think of abuse, or sometimes, I, for one, have been like that, where I thought that abuse is not happening around me. It's happening perhaps other places, not where I am. But when we think of abuse, we can see that it may be affecting a sister sitting next to me, or even a brother sitting next to me. You know, because sometimes we think it's only females, but abuse is not gender specific. So it means that it can happen to anyone, male, female, or children, right? And so this month, for the month of August, in particular, the very last Sabbath in August, we are centering on the awareness and prevention of abuse amongst all of our church members and also those in the community.
Okay. And so you're saying this is a wide scoped program.
Yes.
You have in our territory, we have the Cayman Islands, the Turks and Caicos, and of course we have the North and South Bahamas Conference. And all of the women particularly are on board with this program, and you say that it's to end abuse.
Yes.
Okay.
And what I like about it is not just here in our territory. When we look at this initiative is coming from the General Conference, and so this will be emphasized in all of our churches throughout the world, because this awareness does not just happen to us here in the Atlantic Caribbean Union, but we think of other parts of the world where we all need to be aware, because we are told that 1 out of every 3 female in some places are being abused.
Wow.
You know, Pastor Clark, as we think about the whole matter of abuse, one of the things that oftentimes come to mind is the fact that we have members within the church, and even sometimes leaders in the church. We live in a so-called proverbial bubble, okay, where we think that because we are Seventh-day Adventist, abuse is not in the church. But the reality is that abuse is everywhere. I remember some years ago I was pastoring in a particular area, and a lady came to church late one day, and she said to me, "Pastor, the reason why I am late to church, just let me show you my neck." And she took her opened her neck, the collar of her neck, and when I saw it, I saw knife marks. And it came home to me to help me to understand that right in the church where I was pastoring, you had a lady being abused, and she was just a symptom of what is happening worldwide, even in our union.
And not only even taking it even a step closer. You know, I work in the school environment, and there are many times when there are children, Adventist children too, who are being abused. I had a situation recently where I had to deal with a case, and sometimes, you know, it's so close to home, but yet we don't even look at it in terms of this abuse is happening right next to us or right under our noses.
And you say those statistics again are?
1 in every 3.
Wow.
That's serious.
That's
very
incredible.
serious.
Yeah.
And so you would want to understand that when we look again and we see what is happening in the church as a whole, it's very important that departments, it's very important that the church sensitize its members to the seriousness of abuse. It is a serious matter, and we want to end it now.
Okay.
Yes, and this is why I believe God has endowed wisdom to our General Conference officials when they included ADRA in this aspect, because sometimes you look at it and you may say, okay, it's a women's ministries initiative, and so what happens? Men or others may say, I don't need to be a part of it, but having the involvement of ADRA, it brings the whole church into this initiative, and whereby all of us can experience or be able to address these issues that we are all facing, because it's not women's ministries alone, the whole entire church. Pastors are being abused. Pastors' wives are being abused.
Okay.
Leaders are being abused. Children.
Wow. So Pastor Rahming, Sister Denise just mentioned ADRA. You're in charge of ADRA. Sometimes it's difficult for people to see that connection between the two. What kind of contributions do you make in terms of your department to the program, this initiative that ADRA and that Women's Ministries is involved in?
Let me start like this, Pastor Clark. When we think about women's ministry, we know that in the world, there is a stigma against women. Okay, many people don't like women leadership. They don't like women in charge in any area. And the Bible tells us that there is wisdom in the counsel of the multitude. And so I believe that it was God ordained when ADRA came to be a part of this initiative. Okay, ADRA in 2009 thereabout came along with women's ministry, and they decided to start this initiative to actually cause people to be sensitized to the whole issue of abuse in regards to women and girls. And so ADRA, because it's a humanitarian organization and because it wants to build women and cause women to be better in their community, had to take on this initiative, and I think they are doing a very good job.
Yes.
Okay, how do we help in this area? We help financially. This is a strategic program, a finely crafted program that is geared towards helping not only sensitizing over 200 countries around the world, but we want to help our church members to understand the importance of abuse, how not to abuse, how not to be the abuser, and how to help people who are in abusive relationships. Okay. And so ADRA comes along by helping financially, by helping in seminars, by trying to create strategic programs that will uplift and engage the entire population of the Adventist Church, including those who are not a part of the Adventist Church.
Yes.
Beautiful. I see this big brother
Yes.
mentoring type coming through. So, Sister Denise, the program is entitled what?
End it now.
End it now.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, it means that stop the abuse, stop the violence,
Yes.
stop the negative, this aspect of what is happening to ladies, men and children. Let's stop it. Let's learn about it in terms of being aware that it exists, because like both of us said, sometimes we think it doesn't exist. It's not in our churches. It's not there. We think it's only in the community or it's elsewhere. But we need to have an awareness, and this is why with ADRA's aspect of it in terms of the training,
Yes.
right, making us aware, sensitizing us to the fact that, hey, this is real.
And I'd like to interject here, Pastor Clark, also to let you know that even though it's an Adventist initiative, it's not only for Seventh-day Adventists.
No.
Okay.
This is for everybody. Once you're a human being, you can be a part of this program, because we want the world to know that we are inclusive.
Okay.
Okay? It's not just about Seventh-day Adventists. The reality is that people are being abused, and sometimes we think only of the physical abuse, but we have the emotional abuse, and so we're going to get to that slowly, but we have all those kind of abuse.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for the input. We're already at that mid-break in our program, and so when we do return, we want to be able to flesh it out. What are the different types of abuses that we have, and go into a little more detail on it. But I'm just so happy that we have in studio Pastor Rahming and Sister Denise Johnson, and we'll be right back with you.
Since 2001, the Seventh-day Adventist Church has been promoting the End It Now initiative, which means no more violence. This program tries to educate people to stand against violence. As part of the Now Challenge, we invite you to take part in this initiative by changing your profile picture with this one, using No More Violence and the hashtag #EndItNow.
One in 3 women around the world are victims of physical or psychological repression. End it now. More than 135 million girls and women have undergone female genital mutilation, and an additional 2 million girls and women are at risk each year, 6,000 every day. End it now. In the United States, 1 woman is battered every 15 seconds, usually by her husband or boyfriend. End it now. 1 in 5 women around the world will be the victim of rape or attempted rape in her lifetime. End it now. Why now? Because we can't wait.
Welcome back. You're watching Voices, and in studio, Pastor Leonardo Rahming and Sister Denise Johnson. Both of them are very active in the ministries that they have, and we're just delighted to have them. We've been talking about this very special program. It's called End It Now. And Sister Denise, is there a particular special day for a program like this?
Yes. The last Sabbath in August each year, this year it will be the 27th of August, is the day that is observed. But because this is such an important initiative, we have been given the flexibility of having it any Sabbath in August. In fact, anytime you feel that you can have a program, you can go ahead and do so.
The beauty of it is that the World Church is united in their programs, you know, and wherever you go, you're going to find some of the similar things, and we work together.
Yes, they are so united until they have everything that we need to carry this program forward.
Okay. I want to pick up now and talk about something we mentioned earlier, and that is the various types of abuses. And I don't know which one of you can begin with that, okay?
Well, there are quite a number of abuses. You know, we talk about, we have the physical, right? And this is the type that we all see.
Okay.
We see this, and so we can say, okay, there goes sister so-and-so or brother so-and-so or this child, that person is being abused, right? But we also have the mental, the emotional, right? And many emotional scarring we do not see. We do not see at all. You cannot look at me all the time. Outside. Now, after a while, you may be able to pick up, but you cannot just come and say, okay, there goes this person, she's abused or he's abused. You cannot always say that, right? Then we also have the sexual abuse. And we will know this because somebody may have gotten raped, and then we say, okay, yes, that person has been abused. But what about me as the wife and my husband is forcing me at night? That's abuse.
And some men may think that's not possible.
Oh, but it is. It is. And that's abuse. We also have financial abuse. You know, I'm the wife. I'm working, yes. But my husband, every time I get paid, what does he want? I need to go ahead and give him my money. Or I may not even be allowed to go to the bank. We have joint account, and he may get there before I do. And he controls the financial aspect of what's happening. I have no control, right? And so when we look at it, there are so many different types of abuse and different ways in which we can be abused.
One of the things that you would notice, Pastor Clark, is that abuse is very dominant in religious circles.
In religious circles.
Religious circles. Okay? And statistics have proven that those who are highly religious, they can be the most abusive. We have to be careful of that, and that's one of the reasons why we have to educate our community of faith and even other communities of faith. We have to educate them on the various types of abuse because we want to end it now.
Yes.
Is that one of the reasons why you will not just pick up somebody off the street and marry them also? You don't know that?
That is one of the reasons. You know, in our church, we have to go through at least 6 months of counseling. We want to ensure that our persons who we're marrying are counseled, they are prepared for all of these things, because abuse is very prevalent. It is, and as I said earlier, when you look at persons who are always going to the scripture and they are saying the Bible for this and everything, it seems as though they become more abusive because of them. I don't know how it is that they can read the scripture and see a Jesus of love and still be abusive, but that's just how it is.
So you're saying to me that sometimes people may not have power in their homes, but they have power in the church.
That's correct.
And they use that to achieve their purposes.
Yes.
Now, You talk about the church. What role, what part can the church play to help people in this area of abuse?
Well, you know, Pastor Clark, when we talk about the church, we look at the pastor. The pastor in our organization is the head of the church. Okay? He is the one who, or she is the one who we would normally go to. And the Seventh-day Adventist Church in particular is a pastor's-led church. Okay. So what is that saying? We have to work very closely with the assigned pastor.
Okay.
Okay, we have to sell the program to the assigned pastor. We have to ensure that whoever the pastor is, they are on board with the program. And I believe that for to a large extent, the majority of our pastors are involved and they understand what they're doing. And so when our pastors have bought into this particular program, which is a very important initiative, they will seek to even push this further to help end the abuse now.
Okay.
Yes, and rightly so, Pastor Rahming. And once the pastors are working along, once with the women's ministries leaders, they can provide the materials for because each year we get materials that are to be preached or seminar materials that we are to engage in. And so the women's ministries leader can now give these to the pastors and they can see how they can work it in so that it can be incorporated into the sermons. It can be incorporated into a prayer, because sometimes it may not just be the sermon, but we have to look at the prayer, you know, because we ought to touch each person sitting in that pew or in the pews, right? And so we have to make sure that as we become aware of what is happening, our intention is to stop it, to prevent it, so that it doesn't occur.
One of the key things that you would notice here is that in relation to the church, no organization, no department is a God unto themselves. We work together as a team.
Yes.
That's right.
Okay? And the more persons we have on board, the better the organization is. Okay, so when we have ADRA, women's ministry, the pastors, children ministries working together to end it, most likely you're going to have success.
Right.
Okay, if we were to just say that it's a program for the women's ministry department, it's all they're all by themselves, then the reality is that it will not be as successful as it can be. So you asked me earlier, how do we get the pastors involved? And it goes back to this. We want to educate our pastors in what the different types of abuse there is. We want to educate our pastors on how to speak from the pulpit, how to be sensitive to the different types of persons in your community of faith, so that when you're preaching, you will not be offensive to those who are listening to you. We want to teach our pastors how to be a little more gentle, even in how they present the word, or how to pray for those who are being abused. Because there are persons who you will not see with the natural eye who are being abused right before your face. And if you're not sensitive to what is going on, the reality is that these persons will come in and out, and their lives will not be impacted by your ministry because you're not aware of how to pick up the little, ideas and plans of what's going on.
By the same token, then, you've mentioned pastors because they're the leaders of the church.
That's the reason.
We want to also include then the other officers and your elders, etc.
Yes,
That's
because
correct.
I, while Pastor Rahming was talking, I thought of the children's department.
Okay.
A very important department. When you look at it, in school, there's something that I do with the children, good touch, bad touch.
Yes.
Right? And so we start now, even our children's department, Pathfinders, Adventures Club, we start from at that level. Good touch, bad touch.
Excellent.
Right? When we have these other seminars that we bring in, what to expect, if something happens to you, what should you do, right? The financial seminar, how is it that in terms of the stewardship, How is it now when my husband and I, when we get our money, how do we pool these resources together? How do we invest this? And so we look at all of these training aspects of the church, which will help all of us to a point where we can not only become aware, but we can prevent whatever abuse that may be going on.
I'm glad that you mentioned the word prevention also.
Yeah.
It is said that everybody needs somebody. There are some things you shouldn't have to go through alone.
Yes.
Is it true that we need a confidant? And as I ask you that question, I'd like for you to be able to respond, both of you, to, we've talked about the leadership. What can persons who are being abused do to help themselves? What would you say to them?
Well, when we become aware, awareness that I am being abused, right? What should I do in terms of trying to find this help, you ask? Here it is. There are certain individuals, you may have someone at church who you can go to.
Okay.
For the child, for example, we say to the child, find a trusted friend. Say the same thing to the adults.
Okay.
Find a trusted friend. Find your pastor. Find someone whom you can go to. Dealing with the pastors, right? There are agencies in our communities. There are places and there are people out there who can help. As a pastor, as a church member, should I take it all on myself? No. I may not be able to help you, depending on what the situation is. So I should be prepared as the pastor, as a member of the church, as the Women's Ministries Director, to say, okay, I cannot help you, but so and so can. And so therefore, what we do as a church, we provide now these avenues, these steps. You can provide these steps for the pastor. You can provide list of organization, list of things, and it can be visible so that all can see, to know that if there is an issue, if I have an issue with this problem, who do I call? Who do I go to? And we have to be confidential. You know, I cannot hear you. You come to me, I hear you, and I take it and go to somebody else. We cannot. And so we have to be prepared that if someone comes to you, what do you do? Someone comes to me, what do I do? Because we all are in this together. And so this is the reason why we say this is a collective thing. It's not just for one department of the church, but for all of us, because we all play a very important part.
Good, thank you. That's right.
When you look at the community, and you wonder why it's just not a church initiative, even though the church is spearheading it. When you look at the community, there are some persons in the community, some organizations that will not deal with the local member. Okay? The local member just can't go to them and say, I need this help or this. And so if the pastor is spearheading it, the initiative, and he is aware or she is aware of what is going on, then the reality is that the pastor can get all the resources, all of the help necessary to help their local congregants. A very vital point that came up earlier was the whole matter of who do you go to? Who do you go to when you're being abused is important. But what is even more important is how do we deal with those who come to us? We have to be very confidential. We can't as leaders preach it from the pulpit.
No.
We can't talk about it. We have to find a way to deal with these issues. I remember I heard a story some years ago about a leader who, a member went to this leader and was telling the leader about some abuse situation that they were having. And the leader said to the lady, remember your husband is the head of the home.
Wow.
Obey your husband. Okay? That there and in, you're causing that person to be further abused. Okay, so we have to be careful how we use scripture to validate abuse.
Okay. The program moves so rapidly, and we're coming to the end of this program. And so I just wanted to ask you both, if you would, just to give a word of encouragement to somebody out there, give them a path, something that you can just say to them, here's what you should do, or we cover you.
Well, what I would like to say is that abuse is real. It is something that happens, and it happens every day.
Yes.
For us as Adventists, to all my Adventist brothers and sisters out there, My desire is that you would become aware of what is happening around you, and let's prevent it. Let's stop it. Let's see what we can do as an individual or as individuals so that we can prevent this violence from going on.
30 seconds, Pastor Rahming.
Abuse is everywhere. It saddens the heart of God. It should sadden our hearts. We need to stop it. We need to protect each other, and we need to help each other not to be abused so that the church and the community can be better for it.
Thank you both. Sister Denise, it's been a real joy having you. Pastor Rahming, same for you.
Pleasure.
It's a real pleasure to have you both. This has been Voices. I'm your host, Eric D. Clark, and until next time, we just want to remind you that if you are healthy and I am healthy and we're all following God, then we will be able to end the abuses of humanity and prepare for the coming of our Lord.
Profound pleasure to greet you, the graduating class of 2016, on behalf of the Atlantic Caribbean Union, the other owner of this great university. Graduates, you look great. And as I considered your theme, embracing change, life's reality, I remarked to myself that change is really inevitable. It will come, whether you like it or not. To explain to you, in 1981, there are some of us on this platform who sat where you are now sitting. And as I look at ourselves in 2016, God knows a number of changes have taken place. For some of us, we have no hair. For others of us, our hair have become gray, but change is inevitable. However, graduating class, I wish to simply say to you that there are some changes that you ought not to embrace. So Winston Churchill once remarked, some men change their party because, or rather for the sake of their principles. Others, their principles for the sake of their party. I trust that you will never change your values and your principles, and that God will always be with you. Secondly, I want to join the chairman in expressing appreciation to Dr. Trevor Gardner. Dr. Gardner, I consider a man of God, one who is humble, one who is in control of his emotions, and one who, having accepted the leadership of this great institution about 4.5 years ago, has done a commendable job in keeping the ship steady. And for that, the Atlantic Caribbean Union, comprising of the South and North Bahamas Conferences, the Cayman Islands Conference, and the Turks and Caicos Islands Mission, salute you, Dr. Gardner, and your dear wife. Let's give them a round of applause. I also want to express welcome and to reassure Dr. Edwards and his dear wife, Sandra Edwards, of our ongoing support and prayers for their leadership as they assume the mantle here at NCU. We know that God will use you to continue to advance the progress of this university. Finally, graduating class. I think it is only apropos and fitting that I take a few seconds to recognize one of the former chairmen of the Board of Governors for NCU. I speak of the late Dr. Silas Napoleon McKinney. This man of God was used by God at a time when it was most necessary to help and to propel with the transition of what was West Indies College into becoming Northern Caribbean University. And for this, we say thanks to God for the role of the late Pastor Silas Napoleon McKinney. And so, to you today, I say in closing, change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. And so I say to you, go for it and make your alma mater proud of you.